An English chapter from Class 10 NCRT Nelson Mandela is an extract from his autobiography Long Walk to Freedom. In this chapter, he speaks about a historic occasion, the inauguration. He also speaks about the struggles and challenges that came his way until he got freedom for his country. He was the first black president in South Africa. To get complete explanation of the chapter, watch the video till end. Hello everyone, you're watching The Tutor. Let's begin with the chapter. 10th May dawned bright and clear. 10th May dawned bright and clear. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay their respect before the inauguration. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. See here, dawned means uh, to begin, okay, to start. Besieged means surrounded, and dignitaries means people of other countries, that is leaders. And inauguration means again to start, to begin, the opening of any policy or rule. Okay, so here the 10th May was an important day in South Africa. Why it is said like that? 10th May was an important day in South Africa. What special happened on this day? That we'll see in this chapter. See, a few days before this 10th May, Mandela was so happy because he was surrounded by the leaders of other countries. They were giving wishes to him for the inauguration, and that inauguration was to be the largest inauguration in South Africa, as many international leaders had arrived in South Africa. Then the ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheater. Where the ceremonies took place? In the lovely sandstone amphitheater formed by the Union Building in Pretoria. For decades, this had been the seat of white supremacy, and now it was the site of rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. Okay, sandstone. What is sandstone? It means rock. Okay, a rock. Amphitheater means an open area where leaders sit and discuss their meeting. And Pretoria, it is the capital of South Africa. What is non-racial government? It is the government where people are not going to be discriminated by caste, color, or race. Okay. So Mandela here he is saying that this inauguration took place in an open area, that is amphitheater, that is located in Pretoria. It is the capital of South Africa. And who formed this meeting? It was formed by Union Building. This place, South Africa, was dominated by white people. They were ruling this place first. But now when Mandela became the leader, he opened the doors for black people to get equal share in their own land. So the people belonging to different castes, colors, nation gathered to support their land to become the first democratic non-racial government. People of South Africa wanted free nation. They wanted to live in peace and not to be tortured by white people. Okay. Then on that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Zenani. Name of the daughter of Mandela is Zenani. On the podium, Mr. De Klerk was first sworn in as second deputy president. Then Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as first deputy president. When it was my turn, I pledged to obey and uphold the constitution and to devote myself to the well-being of the republic and its people. Okay. So here, so that day was an autumn day. Okay, on that lovely autumn day. That day was an autumn day when he was with his daughter Zenani. He was accompanied by his daughter. That is, he was with his daughter Zenani. Mr. De Klerk was the first man to take pledge, to take oath as a second deputy president, and Thabo Mbeki also took a pledge as first deputy president. And when it was the turn of Mandela, he took the promise by saying that he would obey the constitution and look after the people of country. To the assembled guest and watching world, I said, today all of us do, by our presence here, confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long, must be a born a society of which all humanity will be proud. Okay, so after taking the promise, he gave a speech to the audience who were gathered. What he said, today we are free from white people and have got our own rule. We hope this new change will bring lot of happiness and peace in our life. He also said that we have been tortured for long time, like 3 centuries, by white people, but now we are proud to have a new society of our own. Before we were not having any laws, we were out of laws. But today we got this privilege to have our own law and rule in our own land. Okay. Then what else he says? We who were outlaws not so long ago have today been given the rare privilege to be host to the nations of the world on our own soil. We thank all of our distinguished international guests for having come to take position with the people of our country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. We have at last achieved our political emancipation. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. Let freedom ring. God bless Africa. Okay, so here position here it means to join, to participate, and emancipation means liberty, freedom. Political emancipation means to get freedom from the political rule. Deprivation means lack of facilities, lack of basic facilities. Okay, not getting proper facilities. So in his speech, he also thanked all the international leaders. Okay, distinguished international guest means the international guests, those who came from other country, okay, from other religion, from other caste. So he thanked all of them. And what else he did? He was very happy that now his country got victory and people would live with peace and harmony, having equal rights. They also got freedom from political rule, political emancipation. Okay, so he is promising that now he would remove all the weakness that his country has, like people are suffering from poverty, not getting proper facilities, basic needs, and also gender equality is there. So everything he will remove. He promised to remove all this uh, dirt, whatever was having in his land, so that people could live happily. He also said that now this land will not be tortured by any people. This freedom, this achievement that we got will continue to be forever. Now the black people will rule this land with our whole right. And he also prays to God that may he bless this land. Okay, then. A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters, and troops carriers roared in perfect formation over the Union buildings. It was not only a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. Only moments before, the highest generals of South African Defence Force and police, their chests bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years before they would not have saluted but arrested me. Finally, a chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail of the black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new South African flag. Yes, finally, he finished his speech, and now there was a celebration with jets, helicopters, soldiers. They were paying tribute to the freedom they got for their land. And the arrangement was so good and perfect that everyone lifted their eyes up in the sky. After the show was over, now the highest leaders of South Africa who belonged to Air Force, Defense Force, they came forward with their decorated uniform. Bedecked means decorated. They came forward with their decorated uniform, saluted Mandela, and promised that they would be loyal towards the country and obey all the new laws. See, before the freedom, white people were ruling the land. So these leaders from Air Force and Defense Force were following the rule of white people. But now, as Mandela is the president, rules are changed. So they are promising Mandela by saluting that they will obey the new rule and be loyal towards the country. But what Mandela is thinking, Mandela was not a when Mandela was not a president, these leaders would have stand against him and would have arrested him because he was raising his voice. Okay, so he was just thinking for a while like that. Finally, a jet named Impala formed a V-shaped smoke in the air with black, red, green, blue, and gold color. See, these colors belong to African flag, so these colors were used. Then, the day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthems and the vision of white singing Nosi Sikelel, I Africa, and black singing D Stem, the old anthem of the Republic. Although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised, they would soon know the words by heart. And he's saying that on that day, two national anthems were sung. One by the black people, that is Deestem, and the other by the white people, that is Nosi Sikelel. So two types of national anthem were sung on that day. And they didn't knew how to sing anthem with lyrics, with music, with proper words, because they hated each other. White were hating black and black were hating white. But he says people will soon learn it by their heart. Then on the day of the inauguration, I was overwhelmed. Overwhelmed means very emotional, with a sense of history. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth, the white-skinned people of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned people of their own land. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhumane societies the world has ever known. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century and my own eighth decade as a man, that system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedom of all people, regardless of the color of their skin. Okay. So here, what he's saying on the day of inauguration, he was remembering his past days, how the days were even before his birth. From a long period, black people were dominated by white people. White people were very harsh towards black people. They didn't give basic facilities and also didn't include them in any ways. In spite of having their own land, they were mistreated. It is recorded in the history of the world that these people, that is dark skinned people, they were treated very badly. Mandela also says that he is in his 80s. Since so long he has been seeing people being ill treated, and now after so many years he finally got liberty, he finally got freedom for his country and gave all the rights that country people deserved. Okay. Then next, that day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people, people whose suffering and courage can never be counted or repaid. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. That long and noble line ended and now began again with me. I was pained that I was not able to thank them and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. Yes. See, here Mandela is paying tribute to all those people who sacrificed their lives for the freedom of the country. He is paying tribute. He is saying many people came before me who struggled, who took pain and even lost their life for the freedom. He also feels sorry for those people who lost their lives before seeing the independence of the land. He was unable to thank them for the sacrifices they made. And he says that long line has ended. Which line? The people who sacrificed their life. From many years people were sacrificing their life, and that line has ended and new line has begun, which means now he has to carry forward many responsibilities with him. Okay, then next, the policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from that profound hurt. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect, and that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos, Walters, Walter Sissolas, Chief Luthulis, the Yusuf Dadus, the Bram Fishers, the Robert Sobukwas of our time. Men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom, generosity that their like may never be known again. Perhaps it requires such depth of oppression to create such heights of character. My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamonds. So what he's saying here, see, apartheid means discrimination of caste, race and color. Okay, a policy, it is a policy which discriminate people by caste, race and color. And profound means deep, intense, very deep. He is saying that the policy of discrimination, the policy of apartheid that was made by white people had created a deep wound which would take years and generations to recover. It is not easy for people to forget those days when they were under the rule of white people. It has badly hurted them. Few names are given like Yusuf Dadu, Bram Fisher. You can see the picture on the screen. So these people strongly supported Mandela, and also it is not easy to find such great people with wisdom and courage. How these people emerged? These people emerged because of the deep struggle faced by the black people. The oppression was so deep that these great people had to stood up and raise their voice against white people. He also says that the wealth of any nation is its people. If people are true, they are more precious than diamond. Let's see the next para. It is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Time and again, I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing a strength and resilience that defies the imagination. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. So what he's saying here, he says that he learned the meaning of courage when he was working with his fellow members. Comrades means fellow members, the colleagues, his friends. So when he was working with his members, his fellow members, he learned the true meaning of courage. He has also seen people ready to risk their life for the country. He has seen the courage in people at the times of fight for the independence. When they were asking for independence, people were ready to give their life. They were not thinking of their life because their first priority was freedom. Their life was so ugly, their life was so miserable that they didn't want to live a life without freedom. So first priority was given to the freedom, and these courage were beyond his imagination because people had so much strength to tolerate the pain and raise their voice. He also learned that courage is not when you don't fear, but the real meaning of courage is to win over your fear. You may have fear, but to overcome that fear is courage. Then next, no one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Even in the grimmest times in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. See here, grimmest means tough time, serious time, bad time, worst time. That is grimmest. What he's saying, he says that no people is born with hatredness. It is the society that teaches to hate. It is the society that discriminate people by caste, color, upper caste, lower caste. Okay, so these things are taught by the society. It is easy for people to love as love comes naturally, so we can change the heart from hatred to love. Okay, if the society teaches to hate, we can easily teach people how to love, because love comes naturally. Even in the toughest time, he says that even in the toughest time, even in the worst time, when Mandela was with his colleagues in the prison and suffering the torture given by the white people, he saw a ray of hope in one of the guards. What did he see? He saw a he saw a light feeling, a slight emotion in one of the guard, which brought confidence in him. He thought people can hide their goodness for a while, but they cannot remove it completely. Okay, then in life, every man has twin obligations. Twin obligation means two responsibilities. In life, every man has twin obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children, and he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. In a civil and humane society, civil means soft and very soft and very humble. Humane means where people understand each other's feelings. Okay, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of those obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. Isolated means to take to a lonely place, to make a person live in a very lonely place where he is separated with his family. Okay, and he has to live all alone. That is isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. I did not I did not in the beginning choose to place my people over my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. See what he's saying that every man has two responsibilities to fulfill. One is responsibility towards his family, and the other is responsibility towards his country people. He also says that in a society where people are sensitive and understanding, these responsibilities can be fulfilled easily. But in a country like South Africa, man cannot fulfill any of the two responsibilities because it is very hard to survive. Here he is saying that if a black color man would try to live his life normally like other human being, he was forced to leave his family and go somewhere else. People here were not allowed to live happily. Even Mandela experienced this type of situation when he was trying to fulfill duty towards other people, towards his community. When he was trying to fulfill the responsibility towards his community, even he faced the situation that he was not allowed to fulfill the duty towards his family. Okay, then I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free, free in every way that I could know, free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. See, here he's saying that He is not born with hunger who need to be freed. Instead, he is born to live the same way that any other child would. He is free to run, to swim, to eat whatever he likes and play whatever he desires. Means he should be free to live life of his own. He also says he was not in trouble or difficulty until he followed the customs and rules of his tribe. Then it was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. Illusion means something that is going in your mind. You can imagine it, but in practical life, it may not happen. So everything is happening in your mind. But if you think that the same thing will happen in your life, that won't. That is illusion. When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself, the transitory freedom. Transitory means temporary, not permanent. Okay, so I wanted freedom only for myself, the transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I chose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. Okay, so here he's saying that when he was a man, when he was a young man, when he was a boy, only then he knew that the freedom that he wants is just an imagination, is imagery. Okay, because in real it won't happen, because he realized it is not easy to get out of the misery that he is facing by white people. When he was a student, he wanted freedom only for himself, like a freedom to going out at night, freedom of going out at night, doing whatever he likes to do. Okay, so when he moved to Johannesburg, he wished to settle his life, like he wanted to have a good job, he could save some money, marry a girl, and have a family. These freedom he wanted to have. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed. Curtailed means shrinked, reduced, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self respect that animated my life, that changed my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life loving man to live like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedom I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. Okay. See, first he was wishing to have freedom only for himself. But slowly he realized that it is not only he who is suffering to get the basic requirements to live a life, but also there are many people around him who are struggling for same freedom. And this is when he joined African National Congress to get the freedom not only for him but also for his countrymen. He fought with all his courage to get equal right for his country people so that they can live with honor and self-respect. It is then his life was transformed from a young frightened boy to a bold man. When he was a boy, he used to follow all the rules that were laid down by the white people. But when he started raising his voice, he became criminal in the eyes of white people. Okay, he was a man who wanted to have a normal life, but these situations didn't allow him to live peacefully. He was forced to live alone. He was forced to live a life of a monk. Monk, who is monk? Monk is a person who live a life according to his religious teaching, means no enjoyment and sacrificing all the desires. so he was forced to live like a monk. He also realized that he is not allowed to have basic freedoms, and also his country people were going through the same condition. See, freedom cannot be divided. If it is divided or if it is taken away from anyone, it means it has been taken away from all. So, the same thing Mandela was saying, that if my country people are not free, that means I am also not free. And if I am not free, that means my country people are not free. So, he is interrelating both of the thing. Okay, then I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. See, he says that the one who torture others must get freedom. If not, he becomes a prisoner of hatred. The people who are being tortured would not like them and have strong dislike, prejudice towards the oppressor. That is selfish and narrow-minded people. The oppressor and oppressed both should be freed and live properly. If not, they will lose all the good qualities of humanity. So this is what the chapter tells. I hope you have understood the chapter. It speaks about the struggle and challenges that South African people has suffered before getting the new rule, before getting the independence. They had to face lot of pain and trouble, and many people they have lost their life. Yes, so it was a very bad time for them, but now they are independent. Now they are happy. So I hope you have understood the chapter. If you want more such explanation of other chapter, then make sure to subscribe the channel.